Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the T62A versus the Object 140 Is It Worth the Grind video. So, yeah, as I said, the Object 430 is not worthy as a competitor against these two. These two are just much better. So yeah, let's look at the armor. Enough shit talk. So, 102 upper plate, angled pretty badly compared to the other two, which makes the frontal armor pretty damn shit. But then again, is there really that big of a difference between 160 and 190 armor? I don't think there is, but that's basically the difference here. However, the turret on the T62A is probably the best turret that has ever gone on any medium tank in any tier in any nation. This tank turret is just insanely good. If you look at the armor values, even gold will struggle to penetrate this. And the best part is you have only one cupola. You see this? And this is 214 armor. And it's sloped and angled so good that frontal shot 370. That's through the vision port, and the vision port is in the way. Here it's still 272. Like, how the fuck do you even bend this? This cupola is just sick. It's angled very good. The turret armor is the best turret armor that you can ever see on any medium tank, really. And the gun mantlet. Seems that there's a weak spot by the gun, but then again, I wouldn't really trust this too much. Yeah, it seems no way. It's not worth shooting. So basically, if you're shooting, only can see the T62A turret, you either run away or you either load gold and still risk not penetrating. Because if you look at these values, like 450, are you fucking serious? 280, okay, you can I guess pen this with gold with most tanks, but still, it's crazy good armor. Sides, 75. This is a bit weaker, but then again, not really like a huge weak spot. Rear and back, obviously the same thing. Pretty shit, as you would expect on the medium tank. Gun depression 5 degrees, nothing really too special about it. And let's look at the Object 140 now. 100 front armor, slowed much better. So instead of 160 armor, you get something around 170, 180, something like that. The difference is not significant at all. You can angle this as well, get something like 200. It does not matter when you face tier 10s. Turret, however, 240, which is alright. The same armor as on the other thingy dingy, but you'll notice this part here is an auto pen for everything. What it is, 3 times the size. So anything above 90 millimeters in a gun caliber will pen this. So every 90 mil gun is an auto pen here, and if you're shooting this from above, this is an obvious penetration zone. Cupolas, weak, 160 armor, and they're not like super good angled as well. So they are actually 160 armor at most places, and they're not very small. So if you see this tank, shoot the cupolas or the front plate. Sides, actually not that good, 57 armor, but they are angled. As you can see, there's quite an extreme angle there actually, and that makes it not like hard to penetrate, but you can get some silly bounces. Not if you shoot it flat in the side, but like something like this, as you see, is a ricochet. But the sides are sides, and the rear and back, as we just mentioned, is shit as on any medium tank. So yeah. If I had to say which one is better armored, I would go for the 62A just because of the insanely good turret. This thing, however, is it's more or less the same armor as on the 430. Bigger cupolas, smaller weak spot on the turret. Basically, that's the difference. The frontal hull is really similar to the Object 430. So if I had to say, I guess the 430 is second best armor tank, and this is the worst, and the 62A, because of its insanely good turret, would take the first place. In my book, at least. You might value the hull armor more than I do, but I really don't, so I ignore it. Enough talking, let's get into the replays. Before we get into the games though, one quick thing, how to research these tanks. So I would recommend going the new line. Doesn't really matter which way you go here, I'm not really sure, I didn't play these little shitty tanks anyways. I guess I don't even know. To be honest, I really don't know. It doesn't really matter anyways. Well, you gotta get the T34, then you get the 843. It's a great tank. 843, in my opinion, is a great little tank. It's sort of like a scout tank and a medium tank mix. I made the video of it as well, you can check that out. Instead of the T34A85, 85 is a great tank as well. You can do some historical battles in the new patch with it, but I think A43 is a better tank for randoms. A44 is really, really situational, and it can be really tricky and frustrating to play, but I think it's better than the A43, because the A43's gun sucks. Object 416 is a really situational tank as well, but it's better than the A44. The gun is just so good. Then, since this tank is crossed out, it's not a good tank to play. Well, it's not a good tank to grind, especially if you don't have any of these. Then T54, obviously. T54, extremely powerful. One of the best tier, probably the best tier 9 medium. And the tier 10s, T62A, 140, doesn't really matter what order you get them, because they're both worth the grind. Guess what? They're both great tanks, and which one you get first is up to you. Gun the person or turret armor, really the choice here. So there we go, T62A on Swamp. First time I think I've showed this map on any of my replays or reviews or whatever. So, Swamp, basically, you cross the river, you are a burden for your team, and the team usually with more people crossing the bridge loses. So, fuck crossing the bridge, let's go and defend our own side. So, T62A has the best gun out of all the tier 10 Russian mediums. It has the best accuracy, the best aiming time, the soft stats are good as well, so the gun is extremely responsive. It's like, the difference between this and something like a Leopard is barely noticeable. So, this gun is exactly as accurate as you would ever want your gun to be. I mean, the guns that are more accurate than this and aim faster are slightly better, but the difference is barely noticeable. So, this gun is accurate enough to hit anything at any distance, more or less. 0.34 accuracy, I believe it is, and 2-second aiming time. So, taking aggressive positions, 2 T62As, we can barely more or less kill whatever is here. And trying to stay hull down will be more or less the main issue in this game. Can't really see those guys properly, I don't really see what they're behind or not, and I actually miss both of them. And E100 shoots me with HE in the turret, take only 250 damage. And on Berg 140 or 430, this could have been 900 damage from the from the E100. So I can feel quite lucky that I'm not driving an Object 140 already. Some might say, oh, it's only 1 degree of gun depression Object 140 gets. Well, you can put it that way, you can put 1 degree or 20%, because this thing has 5 degrees and the Object 140 has 6 degrees. So the difference is quite noticeable, and picking between these tanks is quite hard. They are really similar, and saying which one is better, I don't know. I think that both are worth the grind, and you should get the both, because you can. It's really easy to grind both of them and get both of them, and you shouldn't have any issues with that whatsoever. Another shot from an E100 takes out my viewport, 331 damage. That's fine. That shot could do 900 damage when it hits your roof in a proper angle. Traverse and acceleration is pretty damn good. It's not as good as on the T54, the power to weight ratio, but the turn resistance is much better, so the tank feels quite nippy. The traverse feels extremely good. Turret traverse is extremely good, and basically there's nothing bad to say about this tank, really, apart from the poor hull armor. Another difference that not a lot of people mention is that T62A is the biggest tank, the 140 is the second one. It's slightly smaller, but not by much, and the 430 is smaller than the 140, and obviously the 62A as well, but not by much, so can't really see a big difference there. And you can just appreciate how accurate this gun is just by these shots in this E100. Not this one, this was quite obvious, but all the shots I took at that E100, I'm pretty sure all of them panned as well. You can see that the rangefinder of the E100 is an obvious weak spot that you should try to abuse every time you can. That one, it seemed to went into the turret, not the rangefinder, and it's still panned because I have 260 penetration anyways. Reload of the gun is, you can get it down to something like 5 point something seconds, 5.4, something like that. It's crazy. The DPM on these things are extremely high, and when you get yourself into positions where you can lay down the fire, be held down, this tank is unstoppable. As simple as that. Getting in those positions is more tricky than in the Object 140, because the 140 has that 1 degree of gun depression, but then again, getting in those positions in 140 is gonna be less epic, because you can get penetrated in the turret with quite ease if the enemies have any clue what they're doing. Not saying that the 140 is bad, because they are extremely similar, and the preference I think goes down to if you are play the Chinese mediums, and if you were reasonably happy with the gun depression. If you were able to handle the Chinese gun depression, you should be having better time in the T62A than you would have in the 140, because this turret is extremely good. So usually after you have cleaned up your side of the bridge, you usually don't want to cross, you want to go back and defend, but the enemies didn't push, they're still sitting in their base, so pushing around is probably going to be the best idea here. But not pushing where the AT-15 that is a bad position. If you push, you have to push all the way around, so you can see and avoid all their campers that are camping like H4 or something. That's quite a common spot to sit in, and you really want to avoid that by going around everything. So, is this tank OP? Well, it's hard to say that it is, because these tanks are balanced with their low alpha, and that's basically what makes them sort of balanced. I still think that this is one of the best medium tanks in the game, but saying that it's like really OP like the T-54 was in Tier 9, I don't think it's true. T-62A is a great tank, don't get me wrong, but the fact that you usually don't get to just fire every 5 seconds means that the tank is gonna be worse than tanks that do 390 alpha and trade shots efficiently. This tank does not really trade shots well efficiently, unless you're all down and your enemies cannot pen you, then obviously you will be trading well. But when your enemies can pen you, this tank is not the best one to be in. If you watched my video on the Object 430, you can just see how more responsive the aiming is on this tank. It feels so much better. You can't really compare these. This feels like a T-54, while the Object 430 feels like the 121, the Chinese medium tier 10 that has 440 alpha, and you can understand why it aims so badly. But the 430 aiming makes just no sense. And I don't even know about what they're thinking. I really don't think the 430 is a good choice, but let's talk more about the 62A. So, the equipment, rammer, bird stabs, optics. Optics, good for puppies. If you play Clown Wars, then probably replace optics with ventilation, or maybe gun length drive, whatever you see fit your playing style are. Crew skill wise, 6 times repairs. Clutch braking, always nice on these tanks. It's really easy to circle people in this already. With some more clutch braking, it's gonna be much better. What else could be important? Gas tanks are in the front of this tank, so is the ammo rack, so safe storage could be useful as well. Other than that, what there is to say? Use the gun depression, go hull down, and you'll be wrecking people, because the turret is more or less impenetrable from the front. Well, it's not impenetrable with gold rounds, but it's still dodgy if people shoot you with gold rounds. Wolfpacks of T62As can be extremely deadly. Wolfpacks of any tier 10 Russian medium tanks, apart from obviously the 430 because it's just worse, are extremely powerful, because when you bunch these things up in numbers, they just chew through the enemies in a couple of seconds. It's crazy how fast these tanks can bring death to their enemies. And this is a slight mistake. I kinda overestimated where the enemies are, and I'll pay for it quite dearly here. 2 shots, they still have a lot of TDs, and Waffle is there for some reason. Guess he just fired, so he isn't firing me now and killing me, because he could have easily. Situations you don't want to get T62A. Well, it's not that easy to say. Well, obviously you don't want to drive backwards, but that more or less stands for any tank in the game. I'm not really sure. The T62A is strong no matter where you put it. If you put it if you're not hull down, you'll still be trading health if your aim is any good. And trading health when you have the highest DPM of any tier 10 medium tanks, it's not the worst thing to do. It's not the best either, because obviously you'll do your 2.5k damage or something, and you'll die if you trade one-on-one. You don't want to really get outnumbered too much, especially when you're not hull down. When you're hull down, you don't really give a shit, because most people can't pen you anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, is the 62A worth the grind? Well, fuck yeah it is. It's the benchmark for the tier 10 Russian mediums. It's one of the best still, even after the 430 and 140. 430 doesn't even live up to the expectations by far, but the 140 is really good opponent for this, and they're both really similar, and choosing between one or the other is a choice you can't really make that easily. The difference is, this tank has its thing, the turret armor. This is the thing that only this tank has. No other medium tank has a turret like this. And if you use that turret properly, you'll have a great time. The 140 is a bit better all-rounded. It has better average It's better on average, but it's more like a jack of all trades with the gun depression and the shittier turret armor. The DPM is still extremely high, so it's one of the best jack of all trades in the game. But the 62A is a really solid medium tank. So there we go, 4.1k experience, 108,000 credits, 52k after the repairs and ammo, 3.9k spotting, 6.2k damage done. Pretty alright game for the T62A. And yeah, well, to sum up the T62A, it's extremely powerful. It can be played aggressively, it can be played passively, it can defend, it can attack. It's really good all-around tank. If you can use the turret, it's gonna be extremely well armored as well. If you're not using the turret, then trading health is still well adoption since you have an extremely high DPM. And yeah, that's everything there is to say about this. It's an extremely good tank and totally recommend it. Is it worth the grind? Fuck yeah, it is. It's one of the best tier 10 medium tanks. Arguably the best, but it depends on your playstyle, obviously. Well, enough with the T62A. Let's look at the replay from the Object 140. Playing on Lake Will with Zircon and Snake again. They're grinding heavy tanks and TDs, so we are not gonna work together on this one. And I'm gonna go south, because that's what you should do in your medium tank, obviously, I guess. Matchmaking seems fine, but the team layout seems pretty poor. We have a lot of tanks going south, like big TDs that we really don't need south, are going south. So this does not look very promising at the start, but let's see what we can do. So the difference between 62A and Object 140, well, the guns are extremely similar. The 140 has slightly worse aiming time of 2.1 seconds instead of 2.0. That T62A gets. 140 gets accuracy of 0.35 instead of 0.34. The differences are really minor. The reload speed is exactly the same. The equipment I use is exactly the same, and crew skills should be exactly the same. The tanks are extremely similar. So you trade the epic turret armor for 20% more gun depression, or 1 degree more gun depression, whatever way you want to put it. Does the gameplay differ between these tanks? Well, not much. They are really similar. With this tank, you'll have to fish less for your gun depression, and you'll have a bit worse time trying to go hull down with it, which is basically the only difference that there is. But I think in this game it would have been equal with the 62A or the 140, at least armor-wise. Not sure about the gun depression though. One thing to note in this game, I was using a zoom in mode for the first time ever. I tried it out, I didn't like it very much, but you will see me zooming in and out weirdly all the time. So let's get one thing clear. Both of these tanks are worth the grind because they both come of 1 tier 9. It would be just lazy to get one, sell the T54 and don't get the other one. T54 is extremely powerful and it gets you 2 tier 10 tanks, which is brilliant. Like, you can't complain about that. And if you do, you're silly. Zircon died. He was pressed quite hard. We can see the city is falling, and you can't really call the position Zircon was in. My enemies are really aggressive on that flank. Here you'll be able to see why the 62A's turret is much better than the Object 140's turret. So there's an Object 704. He has around 270 penetration. You'll see this shot. Look how he penetrated my turret. I'll show you that in 1 second. Look at that turret. It went through the roof and the side of the cupola. That would have never penetrated a 62A. So yeah, I would have been full health if I was a 62A, but I probably would not have been able to shoot at ISA there at all. As I said, the tanks got exactly the same guns with the slightly worse stats on the 140. DPM is exactly the same. Speed-wise, they're really similar as well. I think the 62A was slightly faster, but I'm not sure. Other than that, I don't even know. There's not really much to compare because they're exactly the same tanks, really. As you see in this game, our team is falling quite hard in the city because they're really outnumbered, and we have like E100s and 120 in really weird positions, to say the least. Get a lucky shot in the side of the subject, so I'm able to track him, but then again, sometimes you have to get lucky. This is not going to be an easy game to carry because they are really close to our base already, and they have quite a bit of TDs camping in the back as well. Does the gameplay really differ from the T62A? Well, no, it doesn't. you are able to use some different positions, but because the tank is smaller, some positions are better in the T62A even if it doesn't have enough gun depression, and some positions are better in the 140 because it's smaller, obviously. So, the gameplay wise, these tanks are extremely similar. The 62A hull down is much better though, and gun depression wise, the 140 obviously wins, which is basically the only difference between the tanks, and that's the decision you will have to make: gun depression or turret armor. Which one do I prefer? I think I prefer the Object 430 because I'm a fucking idiot and like how it looks. And other than, well, from these two, I would guess I will pick the 62A because I like my tanks to have this one strength, and the 62A has it. Other than this tank is more like jack of all trades, which is not exactly my style, but it's still really, really good. The difference between these tanks is so minor that you really can't feel it at all most of the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter which one you prefer. Both tanks are extremely strong, and it's just a matter of which one of these you're gonna get first, not which one of these you're gonna get and which one you're gonna ignore. And probably here I would have taken damage with D62A, even though I was quite angled. Maybe 62A would have bounced as well, but probably not. Just tracking that guy more and more, and now I'll try to get this Jagdpanzer dealt with as well. But yeah, tracking people is extremely vital when you're driving a tank with this little alpha damage, and tracking something like the Jagdpanzer can mean victory or defeat for your teammates. Probably the fact that I did track him earlier the fact that I didn't kill him now will cost one of my teammates lives, because I let him reload and kill the T-54 instead. I really wanted to get the kill on the T-54 because I knew I'm gonna get that Jagdpanzer anyway, so I just pick up that kill, and this is quite lucky as well. Look where that shotgun went. It went below his gun mantlet and penned his hull. It bounced off the gun mantlet in his hull. That's kinda hilarious. Using that nice gun depression here to pen the roof of the T-30, not really a hard shot to make in this tank. Again, you can see that this tank snapshots really well. The accuracy is what you would expect. 0.35 is more or less enough to pen everything in this game, and you shouldn't really have too much issues. Notice an E4 behind me. Hull down E4 is one of the best things you can ever see in a medium tank like this, especially when he has only 200 health. E100 decided to show his side to me, so I'm just gonna shoot him. I'll be comfortable here to sit here and shoot these guys inside all day long, but they have started to cap, so I have to get back and reset, otherwise we lose. So yeah, let's do that. First of all, I have to kill this 5120. You can notice how better this aiming time is compared to the 430, and it's the same with the 62A. 62A aims fastest, but the difference between 62A and the 140 is barely noticeable, so you shouldn't really worry too much about the difference in aim time and accuracy between two of these, but the 430 lags behind quite hard, so yeah. So far I took 2 shots from the 140 that should not have penetrated if I was a T62A. The T30 shot, I couldn't do anything about it. I was showing the side of my turret that deserved to get shot there. He has the stock gun, so lucky me. But other than that, everything went well so far. Now I need to reset. I have 7 seconds left. With 430 I probably would have ruined this chance to win. 2 seconds before the end of the cap, I managed to reset the scout. Now I have like 15 seconds and the mouse fired, and I can track him and get all the defense points I have ever wanted. I'm gonna be unicorn efficiency in no time if I keep playing like this. Usually I wouldn't do this, but since I've done so much in this game, I really don't want to lose it. So I'm just gonna load my 3 heat rounds I carry in this tank in, and just make fun of the mouse a bit. And he shuts a barn. So yeah, GG, we should win by this point. Mouse is rushing forwards because he realizes that he's not going to be able to cap if I'm here. And I'm at 2 shots, so he really needs to get lucky. And this is a bad shot. Should have drawn out a bit farther. 1 heat shot left. I had 4 heat shots, didn't I? Not 3. Well, never mind. The game should be over. I should be easily able to handle the mouse when he comes rushing into the house. And he's doing exactly that, and 1 heat shell in the side. And I can start to cursoll him. And then, obviously, who could fuck me up more than our own Artie? Basically, that Artie cost me the kill on the mouse and an epic game, but whatever, it's Artie. What can you expect? He would have tracked the mouse, I would have been in an epic position. I should have tried to track the mouse because I kind of was dead after my driver got killed. So yeah, thanks Artie. Much appreciated your help, always. And I died to the mouse, obviously, because Artie fucked me up. I would have circled him and killed him easily without my own arty's help in quotation marks. But yeah, the game was decent. 6 kills, 6.7k damage. Managed to get more than 100 reset points, so you have to be happy about a result like that. Maybe I should have played a bit more aggressive on my flank to maybe get a round before our entire team died, but then again, they had way too much TDs camping back, and look at this Yak Dagger. Best Yak Dagger EU. So much skill here. It's just impressive. It is really, really impressive how you can play like this. But the game is over. Recap, Mouse lives, sadly. So yeah, that's the game. Over 2023 experience, 106k credits. Defender, obviously, high caliber, and Top Gun. Cannot really complain about this game too much, even though my own arty kinda killed me at the end there, but a decent game, 6.7k damage, 1.2k spotting. Team-wise, well, apart from our tanks got kind of rushed in the city, and then we had like Yak Panzers going around, which was kind of unfortunate that we had a team like that, but still was able to pull out quite a nice victory for our team and for myself, obviously.